we're taking life differently. We're merging our head and our mind together to wake, because people always used to say, feel with your mind and think with your heart. And because, and it made sense, but it didn't make as much sense until I went into my journey of my awakening in what this process is, because we never know what that is. And it's not always an easy place. Sometimes it's very scary to be in this because we don't know. And our ego comes up and our ego is saying, no, you got to stop. No, it's uncomfortable. No, let's go back to the status quo. But the thing is you're never going to have the things in your life if you constantly let your ego run your life. If you want something different, you really do have to do something different. And part of the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've spent the last week really diving into what do I need to do different to go to that next level. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a fabulous holiday season. Mine was quiet, which was really nice. I got a lot done. I got rested, and then I had a temporary crown put on my tooth. And so last week I got to have a swollen tongue and I wasn't able to eat or do much. So it was an interesting week, and I never had so much pain in my mouth as when you have a tongue swollen from dental work. Anyways, I'm excited that the new year is here. I'm excited that there's going to be a lot of changes that are coming, and I'm going to talk about the spiritual awakening today and give you some ideas and signs of what's going on. But first, let's open the show. So the purpose of the show is to help you to realize that you are not alone and that you are in control of your life. It doesn't matter where you come from or what the circumstances are. We've all experienced pain, suffering, hurt, abandonment, loneliness, and hopelessness. The show is here to help you turn those dark moments around and create a whole new you. Despite your success, have you felt lonely, angry, frustrated, or even suicidal? Do you long to be supported, recognized, and respected for who you are, and not just the awards and accolades on your walls? You don't want to be known, identified, or remembered in a way that feels fraudulent because you achieved things out of obligation and not passion. Do you find yourself sitting quietly at lunch, listening to what lights you up, only to feel shame, fear, frustration, and resentment? Your inner turmoil and limiting beliefs surface, making you feel not good enough and afraid of doing something different. You've read the books, attended the seminars, and practiced new concepts and principles, yet you still find yourself in the same rut. The lies you tell yourself perpetuate a cycle of disappointment. You say you'll change, but your self-limiting beliefs keep running the show, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. As a certified coach, I empower you to become your authentic self. My Soul Journey program aligns you with your true self and guides you to find your soul vision, helping you discover your purpose in life. I provide tools to step into your true magnificence and remember who you are. If you're interested in learning more, contact me at Brave TV at KathleenMFlanagan.com. And each week I start the show with the tuning forks, and I bring in love, happiness, and balance to set the tone for both myself and my guests when I do have one. So let's begin. How many of you are actually feeling an energy shift right now? Because I know I am, and I know it's kind of been doing things for me and getting settled in, because I always know that January is a time that I try to spend just closing out last year, where do I want to go this year? And I kind of form where I want to go. And for the last 2 days, I have done probably close to 6,000 emails because I get so busy that I just look at them and then just close the program instead of deleting or doing whatever. So, and I also have this feeling right now that I want to take and rearrange my house. Now, I don't know why I feel like that, like the energy's stagnant. And I don't know if any of you are feeling that way, but I take it that that just shows that there's a lot of growth going on. And when you're feeling that way, you want to shift the energy, because I know there's a lot of internal change going on for me. I've launched my 4-month course that I have. So I've launched that, and I'm doing a free training on YouTube at 10 a.m. on TikTok if you want to come. And it's just to help you to understand the alignment process that I do. But today I really wanted to talk about what a spiritual awakening is, because I know that this year is going to be very prominent in waking up, and depending on where you are on your journey is all going to be different for everybody, but there is common themes that we go through. And what was interesting when I was going through this, I was like, oh my God, this is in book 1. This is in book 2. This is in book 3. Oh my God. It was just kind of an interesting thing of knowing that I've written about what the spiritual awakening is, but I never really put it down in a detail like I'm going to talk about today. And the first one is the wake up call, which of course was book 1 called, the calling, or the call. And so when this is happening, is that means there's a significant change, such as a loss, a trauma, an illness, or a deep dissatisfaction that triggers an internal longing for meaning and purpose. And this is where you begin to feel like there's more to life than material success. And I know that when I felt this in 2008, when I was in Chicago, I just wanted to be a better person, because the outside of me and the inside of me were so far apart from each other. And I just wanted to feel in balance and in alignment. And I didn't want to operate the way that I was always operating, because when we operate the same way, nothing changes. So I decided to go on this quest of doing something different to be better. And that was my calling. That was when I was waking up. And like I said, we all go through it at different times. We all go through different stages of it. But I just felt really disconnected. I felt like at that time when I moved to Chicago, like the world just didn't like me anymore, that I felt like Colorado was after me. Like all these things were just, felt like they were piling up, and I couldn't see through the muck. And I just wanted a fresh start. And by me going to Chicago, it was like I went back to Ohio, because I was born and raised in Cleveland. And Chicago is Midwest, and it was just like I was back home. I had this little 600 square foot apartment, which was about all I could handle at the time. And because it dialed me into me. So, I mean, if anything was out of alignment or a mess, it was my mess. And it was you see everything in 600 square feet. When you have a bigger house, you can get away with a lot more disarray. But I wanted to really feel like I needed to reconnect with myself. And that was the perfect place for me to go, to be in that little tiny farmhouse that I was in. And I burned candles a lot then, because at the time I didn't know at the beginning that I was in a vortex. But I wanted to know, why was I here, and what was the purpose of me being here, and why was I still carrying so much anger and frustration, and why did my life feel like it wasn't going anywhere? And these are questions that you usually ask at the beginning of a wake up. And I also felt like time was running out. That was another strange thing I didn't understand, was I felt like time was running out, and I was very, very restless. And I just remember thinking, and I didn't tell my mom I was doing this. I just got up and I just left. That's what I did. And it was easier because I didn't want anybody to talk me out of it. I just knew I needed to do this for me. And it was like, I felt like I had to put my big girl panties on for the first time. And when I did, and I told my mom I was in Chicago, well, that didn't go over very well at all. She was very, very, very angry at me. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I came to realize that my mother was angry because she no longer had control over me. And that's another thing, that when we start waking up, we're taking our power back. We're taking control of our lives. Nobody else gets to control us or manipulate us like we've always felt like people could do to us. So what you're doing is you're searching for answers. You're looking for what makes you. It's a self-discovery of you. And so you begin seeking the knowledge, and you're diving into the spiritual books or practices or teaching to find answers to the questions. Now, I was doing that, but I was doing things a lot differently. I was writing every single day. Like, I would have these events. Like, I was just so present in what was going on around me. And I didn't understand a lot of things. And when you read the books, you're going to see that this is like a day-to-day experience of what it was like to wake up, of what you're thinking, or you're seeing things and you don't know, and you question more deeply. And, so I mean, yes, I was journaling, I was doing some meditation. Of course, I was always talking to God or the angels at that time, because they were helping me, because I didn't understand. And I had so many dreams during that period of time. And I understood every dream of what it was and what it meant. So that was another way that Spirit was communicating with me, was to let me know what was going on. And I had to still interpret it. So it was my growth for me to like trust me. What was I thinking? How was I feeling? And to trust that, because I have just as much value as anyone else did, even though I didn't think that at the time. And then you start increasing your curiosity about consciousness and energy and metaphysical concepts. Now, I was already doing all of that, but I was going deeper. And what was interesting when I was writing this, like, I would know what was coming on, and then I would read like the people that I was following that used to do newsletters about what was going on with the energy. And a lot of people in that time frame stopped being the seers for the coming decade. And so a lot of them walked away. But what was interesting is that I was like, I could write this stuff. I was writing this stuff as they were saying it. So I got a really clear understanding of what they did. And I never stopped long enough or settled in or was that quiet that long to do that. But I really went so deep in everything I questioned, because we take so much for granted. And we think that we're alone and we're isolated. And I came to realize that's never true. They're always there. It was just that we just never stop and look at it. And, and you're going to have these aha moments where you're going to go, oh my God, that makes sense. Because if I would ask a question, I was very open to how it was going to come out. And sometimes I saw it in movies. Sometimes I saw it in something that I read in an email or a newsletter, or I saw something happening out in the world. And it was like, oh my God, this is the answer. And I started trusting that, because I could feel it in my heart that this was right, because I was living from my heart instead of my head. And that's part of what happens when we're in this waking up process, is we're no longer in our head all the time. We're taking life differently. We're merging our head and our mind together to wake. Because people always used to say, feel with your mind and think with your heart. And it made sense, but it didn't make as much sense until I went into my awakening in what this process is, because we never know what that is. And it's not always an easy place. Sometimes it's very scary to be in this, because we don't know. And our ego comes up, and our ego is saying, no, you got to stop. No, it's uncomfortable. No, let's go back to the status quo. But the thing is you're never going to have the things in your life if you constantly let your ego run your life. If you want something different, you really do have to do something different. And part of the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've spent the last week really diving into what do I need to do different to go to that next level. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Ready to discover the deeper purpose of your life? Kathleen Flanagan's Soul Journey course guides you through profound spiritual awakening, helping you connect with your higher self and unlock the wisdom within. Embark on a journey of transformation and self-discovery. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and start your soul journey today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And what I was talking about right before commercial break was knowing that we're going into a higher energy field. And I feel like I'm going into a higher energy field. And I also know that my body's not feeling like it can handle it yet. And there are things you can do when that happens. I mean, first of all, exercise, water, doing things a little differently, doing cleanses, that kind of things helps to get the body ready. This is kind of what Zach was talking about the last time she was on the show, about how she is getting her body ready for this new energy. And I feel that I'm in that same place. Now, we all are on different timelines with this, but I just realized that I need to do something a little different. So I decided that I was going to start changing up my morning routine a little bit differently, where I'm going to do like write down my gratitude. And I've actually started a weekly planner of what I want to get done, because I have so much stuff that I do that it's all up in here. And now that I'm launching so many of my programs, I'm all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, I just got to like get a handle on where I'm going, and feeling like it, because when you're in a different frame of mind where I was like learning and studying and developing, but when you start implementing, it's a whole new thing. It's a higher energy frequency. So that's what I've done. And I think part of the reason with the whole thing with my tooth was so I could just sit down and just get grounded in this. And that's exactly what I've done this week. And I'm feeling the changes. It's still, it's kind of like, well, how do you get the edge off? And I just breathe through it. And that's all you can do, is really breathe through it and get plenty of rest, which I've been doing, and just really doing a lot of self-care and taking care of myself. So when we go into the third stage of the dark night of the soul, this is the death of the ego. Now, the ego doesn't really die. It's just no longer controlling you. And you're putting it in the back seat, where you're allowing spirit to come in and work with you, where you are now in co-creation with spirit. And so this stage often feels like you're in a crisis where you must let go of your old identity, beliefs, and attachments. And it can be lonely, painful, and confusing. And that is very, very true. Because this is where you're going, well, who am I? Where am I? Why am I here? What was I thinking? And when you're in that place, you just need to be with you. And it sucks to be you. Trust me, it will suck to be you. But what's on the other side is so worth this. I mean, look at it as if you're giving birth to a baby, because you're giving birth to a whole new you. You're giving birth to someone who's better than you. And when you're doing this, you're stopping the self-limiting beliefs. And I do have techniques to help you with every step of this. I mean, this is what my Soul Journey course is about, is helping you and to ease into that waking up process, so you're not alone doing this like I was. Because I know there are other people who did this, but I didn't know who they were. So I had to do this myself, which was fine. And I was okay with that, because I'm a pretty tough cookie and I can take a lot of that in. But the thing is that you're going to go through deep emotional purging, where you're going to feel grief and shame and fear and anger and resentment and jealousy. I mean, like every emotion's going to come up that you've ever felt, because it's time for you to who are you within those emotions? And there's nothing wrong with those emotions. And we have to stop judging those emotions. So, I mean, it's okay to be fearful. And, and I live in fear a lot, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, because I'm scaring the hell out of myself almost every single day. It's like, well, I'm doing it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm scared to death to do it, but I'm doing it. Coming out and letting myself be visible, very, very, very scary for me. And I'm doing it anyways. And, I get comfortable, and it's like, okay, I'm comfortable with the show, and it's okay. And now I'm going, now I'm going to go out and do like trainings. Oh my God. I actually did a training on Friday about YouTube, understanding YouTube and how to grow a YouTube channel, because I'm taking a course on how to do that. And so I was asked 6 weeks ago to put a course together, and it was like, or a seminar together. And I was like, really? Okay, I can do this. And I couldn't even practice it. That was the thing, but I got it. I did it and it went off really well. I was really proud of myself because I was around people that I felt safe around. And I felt really confident because I spent the last week really doing the work on what it's like to do this. And it's not easy. And they all left and they were overwhelmed. And I thought that was great because it's like, well, welcome to my world, because that's how I feel when I'm learning this 6 weeks ago. And I am just now starting this process to where I'm leading you. But, it's a good thing because, I was a little nervous when I started, but I was so comfortable on Saturday when I did it. And I just felt really positive and good. And that was a cool thing. But see, I still felt the fear and I did it anyways. And that's what you want to do. Feel the fear and do it anyways. The other thing that's going to happen during this dark night of the soul is you're going to question everything that you once valued. That's a fun one because you start realizing that everything that you are, who you've become, how you think, how you feel has been based on what everybody else told you, what they thought of you, what they felt about you, how people reacted to you. And this all goes down into childhood as well. When my mother died, and this is before my mother died, but this is where my values came up, was during her death. After her death was my family doing the things that they had done. And I didn't understand what they were doing. I was like, where did this come from? We didn't learn this. We didn't learn this. I didn't learn this. Where is this coming from? And then I was like, oh, Kath, they learned this, but that's not you. You didn't learn this. You're a totally different person. And I started to see how I was setting myself apart from my family, and not in a negative way, but why their reaction to me was always the way that it was. And I didn't understand it for a lot of years. I mean, I had ideas, but I didn't really fully comprehend it. And I started getting more clarity along the way as far as understanding, because I am not part of my family. I have nothing to do with them. I am not in that energy field that they are. What I did is I came to this family to give me the greatest place and learning to be where I am today. That was what I chose, is I chose to go through hell so I could be here and then understand what generational differences are, because we have 4 different generations in my family, because there were 7 kids in here. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that I really had to dive into as far as finding, who am I? Really, truly, who am I? And how do I think? How do I feel? What do I need to say to the world? Because I knew I had something to say. I just didn't know what that was, because I had buried it and stuffed it for so long, because I was told nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And I spent a lifetime changing that belief of that I had no value. And the other thing is that there was a sense of isolation, and I did feel a loss of direction, because there was times in the books, and you'll read them in the books, that I just couldn't understand how God could love us and allow us to do the things that we do to each other, to the planet, to animals. I mean, I didn't understand any of it. And then it was like, well, how do you love like that? I mean, there was just so much I couldn't comprehend, because my eyes were opening up and I wasn't in this little tunnel vision world in life anymore. And there are times when I sit here and I watch a movie and I go, God, we all have such different lives. I mean, I could have done something different and had a totally different trajectory when I was younger. But I'm also at that place where I'm creating a new trajectory of my life, and I have been in that. But it's just really interesting, because in order to have more of what you want, you have to become more of who you are, because you're never going to have that in this limited place that you've put yourself, or that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's another thing that you just want to really pay attention to, is watch that, and then watch how you sabotage yourself, because we do start going into sabotage because we're afraid. And the other thing, when our ego dies, there is our central nervous system gets affected. And I do have panic attacks a lot, where I think I'm going to die, and I know, after going through this already, I know that, well, good. I know that I must be on the verge of a huge breakthrough for me to be in this panic attack. And believe me, I'm not breathing when I'm having a panic attack. And it's always at night when I go to bed. And then what do? I and the Father are one. I'm grateful. I say gratitude and I calm myself down and I fall asleep. And that is such a beautiful way. But it's also letting me see where I am and that I am moving and recognizing that, because a lot of times we don't recognize the movement that we're making in our lives. And which then leads you that you have to surrender and let it go and trust. And that's what I do. And when I said that I have the panic attacks, and I say I and the Father are one, I'm asking for guidance and protection, and I do. And I just trust that everything is working according to plan. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but that's my thinking. That doesn't mean that's because I don't see the bigger picture. You don't see the bigger picture. None of us ever sees the bigger picture. We're not capable of seeing the bigger picture. We just have to trust the process. So after the ego's resistance, then there's this shift of trying to control everything, to trust into the flow of life. And believe me, yeah, for a control freak, trust me, I know that one. And then I realized you can't force spiritual growth. And then you begin to allow it into your life and unfold. And that is so true. And I have been a control freak my whole life. I have always managed to control and manipulate everything. And this was something I couldn't control or manipulate. I just had to be in that presence of myself. And what was so cool though is just allowing trust and listening to spirit and asking for guidance and receiving it and learning. I felt lighter and I wasn't resisting change as much. Like I could just get into the flow of it. I wasn't charged up. Like people couldn't push my buttons like they used to. And, and there's nothing worse than when somebody knows how to push your buttons and you react and you know that what they're doing and you're still reacting. Ooh, I hate that, because that means that I still have that much more work to do on myself. And that was the one thing that I started to discovering is people couldn't push my buttons like they used to, and they would work hard and they still couldn't do it. And then you're going to feel a sense of peace when you're surrendering to divine guidance. And there's nothing better than that feeling of peace and tranquility and all is well with the world. And even if it's not well with the world, you feel that way because you're well with the world. You're well with yourself. You're well with where you're going. You're at peace with all of that. And then you start observing the synchronicities that affirm that you're on the right path, because when you're working, you can't create some of the things that happen for you when it comes to synchronicity. That's the thing that's so amazing. Like, I couldn't do this if I wanted to. When I see something like I want to go out and do a webinar. Okay, so then what happens? All of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm learning this. And I just mentioned it to my Author U people. And they're like, oh, why don't you teach us how to do that? And it's like, oh, and it scares me. And it's like, whoa. But would I have ever thought to ask or do that? No, I would never think to do that. So that's what's so cool, is that the synchronicities that come, the people that come into your life that help and guide you and move you and help you into that flow that just tweaks you just a little bit, is such a cool feeling that you want to keep doing that because it makes you feel good. And then you stop that judgment and the highs and the lows. You start balancing out more and more. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Are you ready to step into your true potential? Kathleen Flanagan's Get Into Alignment session helps you break through blocks, balance your energy, and align with your highest self. Experience clarity, purpose, and flow like never before. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and unlock the power of living in alignment today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. So the fifth experience you're going to have is going to be an expansiveness of consciousness, which is now you're going into an inner alignment. So you begin to see life from a higher perspective. Your understanding of yourself and the world shifts as you embody your higher self. So you're going to start feeling more compassion, love, and empathy for others. beside yourself, because that's the one thing, it's really easy to be cruel to someone when they're asleep. But when you start waking up, you start feeling that, because you understood your pain, you understood what happened with you and what pain does. And when you start waking up, you start feeling all those things. And I remember that when that started happening, I mean, I'm an empath anyway, so I was already had an element of enlightenment. I just didn't really feel like I owned that. Like it was something that was part of me, but it wasn't something that I understood. And in the last couple of weeks, with this quietness, with the holidays and with my mouth, I really started diving deeper into understanding more and seeing more of, I'm just so grateful for the life that I had. I'm so grateful that spirit pulled me out of my body. I am so friggin' grateful. You can't even imagine, because I've been watching some movies documentaries of things that happened to people, and they were conscious and remembered them. And I thank God I didn't have that. I thank God, because I don't think I would have been alive if it had been any other way. But I remember, just there were things that would happen, and I was observing. I observed everything, and I always felt like I was up here observing my little body down there. It was kind of an interesting thing. I didn't understand it at the time, but I just remember that, and I'm just thinking that it was a good life, even though I may not remember a lot of things, and that's okay. I remember enough, and but it's coming back. It was really owning that, and I think that part of it is that spirit knew that I wouldn't have survived had I not been pulled out of my body for as long as I was. So that disassociation was critical. And I did come into my body every now and then. When I got married, I went into my body, and the next day, what did I do? I remember it was like, I made the biggest mistake of my life. That was what I said, and I got a divorce. I didn't plan to get a divorce. It was not in my game plan. I didn't believe in divorce, but it ended up happening that I got a divorce. And so I knew that I had made a mistake, but I didn't know it going in, but I knew it the next day, and I can't tell you why, but it was that sense of doom. And it was like, wow, Kath. And so many things, people, there's just so many things that you start acknowledging when you come back into your body. You're also going to recognize your connectedness to everything. And I do that. I mean, look at how you are with animals. How are you people? How do people respond to you? We live in we're in a symbiotic relationship with the earth. You take care of her, she takes care of you, and you start realizing that, and you start believing that even if life is feeling challenging and difficult right now, if you know and you trust, you're going to be taken care of, because you may not have access, but you'll always be taken care of. Your needs will always be met as long as you're asking and you're doing the things you need to do. And then your intuitive abilities increase, and you start getting a heightened sense of awareness. And I find this interesting because, we've been wanting to keep Marco, and and we've been working on this integration, and today it was made very clear he wants to leave. But what's interesting is we had a whisperer come in and to try to figure out what was going on, and then she's identifying Holly's cats, and we were going to give them up a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't, and I went down and yelled at all my cats. And yesterday or 2 days ago, Grace came up, and she told me that they would let him in. They would bring him into the fold. And Marco, of course, we've opened the basement door for Marco to go in, and Felix beat the hell out of him. And I'm like, Marco, why are you doing this? And he finally told me, I'm doing it so they feel like they have power over me, because of he's trying to be friends with them. And on Sunday, he did something he shouldn't have done, and he did it again today. And I said, okay, you want to leave. You're ready to leave. I get it. Your family's ready for you. And I'm willing to let him go now. But it was interesting just listening to my cats. Like, I finally dialed in a little bit more. Instead of having whatever angst I had going, they've been talking to me. And that's really a cool place, especially when they're trying to work through this. And but Marco doesn't want to be here anymore. And, and I want him to be happy. He's such a cool cat. I love this cat to death. But, that's part of it. And so it's not about me, it's about him. And so we're going to give him up on Saturday. He's going to find a new home, and I'm okay with that. And that's a good place to be, because it's no longer about me and, whatever I was thinking. So that's when you can increase your intuition and believe that there's something there, that I saved this cat for a reason, but it wasn't for me, it was for someone else. And now I'm going to allow that. That's the synchronicity. That's a trusting that I'm doing for my cat right now. Then you start integrating and you're living from your truth. This is where I always say, this is where you have your boundaries. This is where you have your mouth. You start establishing that because you're coming from your truth. And the spiritual insights are no longer just intellectual ideas. You begin to live them daily, and your actions align with your inner truth, and you develop the practices that ground you. And that's exactly what happens is when I talk about my soul journey, and I remember when I wrote it last year, and I looked at it, I think it was like 6 months later, and I realized as I was reading it to somebody, I was actually speaking it, that it's not something outside of me. It is actually something inside of me. Like I am embracing whatever my spiritual truth is, my spiritual vision that I have. I'm actually walking it and I'm talking it. And I've been doing that. But this was a higher level of that I didn't realize. And it's because I'm becoming more mindful in my living, and I'm more emotionally balanced. That's another reason why I think it's okay to let Marco go, because it's not like I'm needing him or tying, because it's not about the money of Marco. It's just I want him to have a good home, and I know I can provide that, not with my cats, but with him. And now that I feel balanced about it, and, we talked to Sal and he says, yep, I know, I'm right with you. He doesn't want to be here. I mean, Sal's picking it up too, that we're just both realizing what's going, and we're letting go of any judgment or fear, because I know he's going to be safe. He's a good cat. He's a lovable cat. I saved his life. But just letting go of even the judgments that I used to have on myself, like if I see a limiting belief, it's like, oh yeah, I got it. Just shoo. And you just live like that. And you don't really have that kind of fear that you're so afraid that you can't move forward. You're afraid, not because you're afraid to move forward. Your fear is because there's something different. You're doing something different where you're growing and evolving, where it's a healthy fear, not a fear that keeps you paralyzed. And when you're doing this, you're now creating the life, and it's becoming in alignment with your soul's purpose. Isn't that so beautiful? That's what's so cool about this, is because if I didn't do the hard work on myself, I wouldn't know how to do what I'm doing today. I wouldn't know what my spiritual vision is. And I do have techniques and how for you to do that too. I mean, this course I have really dives into the things that are the most critical to help you get there and to support you through what you're going through on waking up. And even if you're not feeling that now, I promise you it's going to come. It will come. We're living in a world right now where everything is changing in such a way I have no idea what to expect this world to do. I just know that there is a huge shift, and we're starting it. And next week I'm going to have Michael Spermelli on. He's an astrologer, and we're going to talk about what this planet, because there are 6 planets in alignment this month, and then there's the 7th one will be in, I think right at the end of the month, I believe it is. And really talking about what that's going to do to us on an individual basis, because I'm feeling whatever these planets are going to do. I can't find anything other than, what science says. And I'm not interested in what science has to say about this, because this is a bigger situation. Our world governments, everything is changing. Our governments are changing. I mean, I just found out that the Prime Minister in Canada is resigning because Trump's in office. I mean, really, seriously? I don't get this, but whatever. And I mean, if you look at it, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Because whatever this is, whatever is going on this us versus them thing that we seem to be fighting in, the darkness and the lightness, the war of the dark and the light that's going on. I mean, in my personal opinion, we are Sodom and Gomorrah like I have never seen before. Because this means we're ready for a big shift. A big shift is coming. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be turned into stone, because I don't buy that. But if you look at what was in the Bible, or you look at when Atlantis fell, there was a lot of things that were going on. There was a lot of things were out of balance. They were out of alignment. And that's what this is about. This is why I'm stressing this, because this is so key to get back into alignment. Because when you get back into alignment, you're back connected with God, with the higher source. You're there. You're with that. And I want all of us to be able to move into a world of prosperity and abundance and joy and love and happiness, because that's what we're entitled to. That's what we're designed. That's our birthright. We're not here to struggle and to be in fear of our lives, because so much of what's happening is because of things that happen to people as children, because of the dysfunction, because of child molestation, all of that, abuse, everything. That is all because we as children came in and we're dealing with that in dysfunctional families. But we don't have to be that person. We can change all that. And there's hope that's out there. Believe it or not, there is hope. And I'm going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break, because I have one more thing to talk about on this actualization. And I just want to give the last of that all of the time I need to give it to. So I'll see you back in a minute.
Feeling overwhelmed? Take a moment to reconnect with your inner peace. Join Kathleen Flanagan's powerful de-stress meditation designed to help you release tension, calm your mind, and restore balance. Just a few minutes can transform your day. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and start your journey to tranquility today.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And the final thing on the awakening process is self-realization and service, where you embody the spirit. And at this stage, you fully embody your soul's essence and understand that awakening isn't about escaping the world, but being a beacon of light within it. And God knows we need a lot of light people right now, because things are crazy, and they're going to get crazier, because this is all about the control. And one of the key experiences is that there is a profound sense of oneness with the universe. And I believe that, because I know that I feel like I have a very strong, powerful light, and I'm shining it as bright as I can. And I realized at a book signing, I think about a month or two ago, thinking that there were so many more people that were into spiritual awakening, the spiritual metaphysical stuff, and discovered that no, it's not. I was always around those people, so that's why I thought there was so much more, but I'm discovering that that's not the case. I am discovering when I do the book signings that there are a lot of people that are going, oh my God, I need this book. And we're having those conversations. So I am a light to people to help them with that. And I just feel that need to do that. And that's why I'm willing to go out of my own safety place and bring light to the world, because I am a way shower. I'm not a light worker. I'm a way shower. I'm going to show you the way home. And this is it. And this isn't easy work, but this is rewarding work. And then you're going to be living with authenticity and love and joy. And there's a lot of truth in that. I can't tell you how true that is, where I can be who I am all the time. I don't put on different masks when I'm out in the world of, I'm one way with a family, I'm one way with a friend, one way with a spouse, one way with my business partners. I'm the same person all the time. And I don't lie, so I don't have to keep up with the lies. And because my father was a perpetual liar, and God, those were interesting things he would come up with. But I do feel a lot more love and joy in my life, because I'm giving that much more. So I'm changing how I project myself to the world, and it comes back. And then You do. You feel the calling to guide others and to serve them. And that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's exactly why I'm pushing myself beyond the limits. I mean, in 2017, Spirit said, "This is what I want you to do." And I just sat there and said, "I don't think so. You got the wrong person. You go find somebody else. I'm not doing this." And I did. I put my feet down. I really did. I don't think so, because I wasn't fully on the other side of the journey yet. I was still healing from all the things that I had learned and discovered. But what I did is I hired a coach and I created a lot of programs. Now I couldn't get them out there because I didn't understand yet that the world wasn't quite ready for me. And I knew who my ideal client was. It was a younger version of me, and I wrote all about her back then. That's what the opening of the show's about, is the people that are really searching and really needing the help and the guidance that they can't find. And now that I understand how to develop and grow the YouTube channel the right way, the way YouTube wants me to do it, I can do that, where I can get my message out there a little bit more and get stronger. And, my plan is to get out on the speaking circuit as well. Plus, I'm going to be doing TikTok live on Friday at 10 a.m. I think it is. No, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. on TikTok live. So, and that's at Kathleen M. Flanagan. So come join me. And if you want to learn a little bit more about what I'm going to be teaching, but this is all part of that. When you start coming into alignment and you're feeling good about yourself and you're trusting your ability, and Spirit keeps talking to you and telling you, helping you, they're guiding me. So as long as they're doing that, I'm going to keep developing things, because I have a whole bunch of stuff I could do. And the other thing that I've done in the last couple of weeks is I've purged so much stuff. I have thrown so much stuff away, so much stuff, because I feel like I need more space to create more. I need more energy. And when you're like a pack wreck, or you carry things around for years and you haven't even looked at it in 20, 30 years, why are you still carrying it around? Oh, I'm going to use it someday. Well, someday is never going to come. I'm going to die and somebody's going to have to throw it away for me. So I started purging a lot of that as well, to where I just feel like I need, and I think that's why I want to rearrange my house, is because I'm making more space for me, more space to where I can hold more energy within myself. And as long as we're doing that, that's what makes life work for us. That's why you want to keep discovering more about who you are and what you want. But you also realize then there's this heavy denseness, and you're like, what is this? So go through the file cabinets and throw stuff away. Go through whatever you've been carrying around for eons of time. Your high school yearbook. Do you really need it? Seriously, do you need it? No, you don't. Get rid of it. Just get rid of it. It's, who you are, but it's not who you are anymore. That's a part of who you were. And I think that always gave us a sense of value, thinking, well, if I have all this stuff, so that means there's something about me being here. Well, no, I don't need that. I would rather walk light on the world and have less than more. So that's just something to think about. And just remember that the spiritual journey, the spiritual awakening, is not a linear process. It's a spiral, and it could be like all over the place, going up and down and back and forth and around and zigzag and everything else. And, feel free to revisit your earlier stages, because as you evolve, you're going to see the growth that you're making as time goes by, and you experience them, and you're experiencing them from a higher level of consciousness. So like when I was saying I was going back and I was looking at things from my past, it's because I am seeing it from a higher level of consciousness. And then just trust the process, because it's all part of your journey unfolding, and it's a beautiful process. And you're meant to be here, and we need you so desperately right now to help the world, because the world needs a lot of people for what's coming. And I don't know if it's good, bad, right, or wrong. It doesn't matter, but we just need you, and people need guidance. And I want to thank all of you for being on the show with me today. I really do appreciate it. I hope every single one of you have a fabulous and happy new year. And if you want to reach out at all, just reach me at Bereave TV at Kathleen M. Flanagan, and we can go in and have a conversation about this. And my books are all on Amazon and the KathleenMFlanagan.com site. And I want to thank all of you for being here. And I hope you all have a fabulous week. And I will see you then.